Hello, hello, lovely readers and writers. Welcome to Sunday Reading Club. This week, if you didn't catch it in social media, and I apologize, I was so busy, I probably only posted once. But this week, I'm going to talk about Sara Foster's The Hush. Now, I'm going to get it straight out of the way. I know this author personally. I've known her for a few years. She's a brilliant thriller writer and a really lovely person, but I was really keen to get my hands on this. It's interesting. What I'll say too, if you don't know about this book, it is a near future dystopian novel for adults. And I read another near future dystopian novel by another Australian author last year, The Mother Fault by Kate Mildenhall, and I really enjoyed that. I can't say that I always love dystopian, and certainly things like Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale just sort of freaks me out. I think it's freaking a lot of us out at the moment. So I probably don't always raise my hand to read it because it is a little bit too close to home. And that's what I found with this one as well. I find that really, really challenging. It's not far enough away to be considered fantasy, which again, I'm not necessarily a massive fantasy reader, but this near future dystopia, great, because of course we're going through things, and we have been going through things in the past couple of years that are really challenging, and they're really driving wedges. So I don't know if I should say that I'm going to be dropping any bombshells here, but if you haven't read the book and you want to make sure to read it before you listen to my commentary, go do that. Don't wait. Go get your hands on this book, because even if I don't love to dive into near future dystopian novels frequently, this one is totally worth it. I absolutely loved it. If anything, I'm still feeling like I'm walking around in this world. Again, that near future portion. And that's really challenging because I was emotionally moved and somewhat frightened. And I think you will be as well. So again, let's just get that out there. It hits close to home, especially as a female. So the themes we're looking at here are themes of pandemics, business and government tracking us, and the way that they do it slowly over time so that the masses, it kind of makes sense, and we then become complicit and acquiesce willingly because they are leveraging our fear over what's happening. Again, that's not a spoiler, I don't think. It's probably on the back cover blurb. But it really is about incremental boundary pushing or boundary overstepping and getting the buy-in of the community. And there was so much about that, you know, like this is, by the way, just a Fitbit, not an Apple Watch, but I kind of want an Apple Watch. I don't say no to all the cookies online. I don't fight always against the algorithm. And like you, I know that I'm being watched, and I have to say that sometimes I'm like, you know, that's kind of fine in some ways because it can make my life a little bit more convenient. But I have to admit that I'm kind of like this and kind of like this, la la la. I know that things are being done probably, and things are known about me probably that I wouldn't want done or known. And that's why this is really, really uncomfortable. It's fascinating. I saw an interview or an article that Sara wrote about how this came to be. And of course, what's really fascinating when this happens, if you are in the publishing industry, you know that things can take a while. Writing a novel can take a while. So the genesis, the idea for this, came a while ago. I think the same thing happened with Kate's book, The Mother Fault, but don't quote me on that. The reason this is so interesting is because it's like the author has a feeling and they're following it, and then things start to play out. It can be really uncomfortable for the writers that I know, and the authors that I have represented have often come across this. In fact, I know of a book that's coming out And I will do a Sunday reading club on this one too. It's coming out in March, and it was written before certain other things, and that can make it uncomfortable. But that's really what we love about books too, that they push our boundaries as readers, right? And they allow us to look at things that when we're walking around in our real life feel a little uncomfortable, and we're more willing or open to looking and challenging our own thinking. That's what I got from this book. So I would say that I'll raise my hand and say I believe in science, and I believe in vaccinations, and not all of the people that I love in the world do. The majority do. And saying that, I also raise my hand and say, I know that it's not for everyone, and I know that there are side effects to every medication we take. There are side effects to natural supplements. So I go into it with my eyes open, but I err on the side of science. And that can be really challenging when reading a book like this, because this book and some of the themes are probably, even though I know what the author actually thinks, I think that some of the themes she's raised and some of the questions she's asking are really pushing towards that, as another friend said, libertarian side of things, like no big government, or just no control of government at all. I think what's interesting in this book too is that the way that I was able to justify some of this is it's really like any thriller or any true crime. There are bad actors out there. So science in and of itself is not the enemy. Science is not wrong, but it's telling you and sharing with you there can be good and there can be not so good. And the not so good is often born from a place of wanting power and control. We know that. And so it's a bad actor or a group of bad actors who probably don't even have each other's backs under all circumstances. But if they think they can get more of whatever it is they want, they will act together. That's what I took from it. That's what will allow me, hopefully, to sleep tonight and not think too much about the fact that these characters are walking around in this world. Of course, the pandemic they're facing is not the same one we're facing. And that gives me that sense of letting my shoulders go down, even though we are living in some really challenging and horrific times with loss of life. I will say this, it's dual point of view. I really appreciated that. I appreciated, as a woman, having 3 generations of women to look at and to see their point of view. I mean, it's only told in 2 of the generations' point of view, but it was really appealing. I did spend a little bit of time on Audible listening to some of the book, but I read the entire book as well. I really enjoyed the 2 voice actors that they used for the 2 main points of view. So if you find that, like me, you get to the end of the day and that's your reading time and you're not reading it, I highly recommend grab the book and get yourself onto Audible and listen to it. The actor who played the younger 17-year-old character, I think 17-year-old character, Lainey, is, I might not say her name properly, but I love her, Tamala Shelton, and I can't remember off the top of my head the actor who portrays the mother, Emma, but I thought they were both brilliant, and listening to it sort of helped me anchor into whose point of view when I'm reading it. And it's funny too, because listening to it, I probably really resonated with the daughter a lot more. And then when I was reading it with my eyes, I really resonated with the mum, because of course that would be my age range and my cohort. I do have a 17-year-old as well. So if you like books that are told from multiple points of view, I think you'll really like this. If you are a woman, I think you'll like this. If you are a man, looking at some of those intricacies that maybe you don't know about how women actually feel, how, as opposed to how they act and how they feel about how they feel compelled to act, This is a really great novel for that because, again, it's over multiple generations, and each of us have come into the world with different expectations. And by that, I mean each generation is raised slightly differently, even if we have a rebellious side. And you can see in the way that this book is written that shift. And it was beautiful. Ultimately, I loved the mother-daughter relationships, the confusion, that dissonance when you go from maybe feeling really tight, especially if it's a single mom and a daughter, or even a single mom and a son, how they're close. And then it feels like as your teenager is growing and developing, how you let them, they need to branch out, and yet, oh, you miss those days of feeling so close where they could share everything with you. I really felt that a lot as a mom myself. What else did I want to talk about with this book? I did make a few notes, so forgive. This is something I'd sort of touched on. I think it brings up that it's important to have healthy skepticism, but not so much that you're just a total denier of anything that happens. It also has themes about climate change as well, and how these things are all sort of piling on together, and how it is imperative that we take a closer look at things sometimes before we just hop on board. I mean, we know a lot of these things that we are served on social media as well. This is part of that, being tracked. They'll serve you what they think you'll like based on what you've liked before. So you're getting this very narrow view. And I think that the way that Sara wrote about this was really good. She didn't really touch a ton on social media itself, but social media plays a big part in the story, and some in the dissemination of some of the aspects of this. I think the book overall successfully raises that tension between science and research, and like I said, recognizing that it's not science in and of itself, right? Science is neutral. Good science is all about hypotheses that you prove or disprove, and that's it. But it's the bad actor. So ultimately it comes down to individuals, and then either collections of good individuals or collections or collectives of bad actors that can make the most change. And ultimately, the novel ends on a hopeful note. It's one of those beautiful ones. It doesn't tie up every loose end, because I'd be challenged. How do you tie that up? I feel like we're just on the precipice of living a lot of these things, and you can't tie it all together, but it does leave you feeling hopeful, and also maybe raising the flag and saying, hey, we've got to start doing something now. Yeah, she's just really challenged me. I'll probably have more to say even in a few weeks' time when I've had more to settle, but I literally just finished it this weekend. I wanted to be able to make this video, and my goal is to read a book a week. That will be challenging depending on the length of some of these books, but I didn't want to wait anymore. It's been out a few months. It's absolutely available wherever you buy your books online, whether it's Amazon. If you're in Australia, you can get it on Booktopia. Go and support your small independent bookseller. If you've got a bookshop that's still open in your town, get outside, wear your mask, social distance, and get in there and buy the book and read it. I really think that you will enjoy it. It is something that is going to be, as I said, running around in my mind for a while. Not a negative earworm, but really something that's challenged me to say, what can I change in my real life every day where I'm not just floating along, not having a critical eye at some of the things that are happening? And how can I just reach out and be of more support, especially to other women in the community, rather than just sitting back and worrying about my own family's comfort and safety? That's important, but also we need to be reaching out our hand and helping others who may not have that support. So that's it. I would love to know in the comments, writers and readers, have you read this book, The Hush. Have you read anything else by Sara Foster? This is certainly not her first go round. I know that she's getting great deals and distribution all over the world. She's originally from the UK but based in Australia. She's got a great publisher now in the US as well. So her backlist should be available. So if you have read it and you loved it, then go look at that backlist. I am positive you're going to love her other work as well, as much as I do. But yeah, share with me. Have you read it? Is it already on your Goodreads to be read list? And if this spurs you on to go and get it, please let me know as well. If you have a book you want me to read and you'd like me to come in here and comment on it, please share it in the comments below. You can always email me as well, anjanette@storyislife.com. Until next time, I hope you have a beautiful reading week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.